2012, a series of conversations with candidates for federal office this November. Now, here's 13 News reporter Mike Gooding.
Hello, and thanks for joining us. Today, we're taking an in-depth look at Virginia's 2nd Congressional District. It takes in all of the city of Virginia Beach, the Eastern Shore, and parts of the cities of Norfolk and Hampton. For the past 2 years, the district is represented by Republican freshman Representative Scott Rigell. He's a member of the House Armed Services Committee, a former member of the Marine Corps Reserve, and a successful businessman and automobile dealer. Scott, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Mike. I appreciate you having me on.
Well, let's talk a little bit about some military stuff, shall we?
Sure.
Sequestration, possibly right around the corner, could be very, very harmful to Virginia. First of all, you and your colleagues want to do everything you can to stop the defense portions of that, correct?
Well, really, both. I mean, sequestration is not the right way to address our fiscal situation. And I'm really pleased that I was able to offer and have the House pass an amendment to the National Defense Authorization Act, which is a practical way that sequestration could be averted. And we've also voted twice in the House of Representatives, putting forth a practical path to stopping these defense cuts.
But if we could go back in time a year ago, you were one of the yes votes on the Budget Control Act, which created this mechanism for sequestration to possibly take place next January 2nd. If we could go back in time, would you still vote yes?
You know, Mike, I, as an entrepreneur, as a business person who's gone to Congress to fix that place, I don't spend a whole lot of time looking in the rearview mirror. Given the choice that was before us, this was, it seemed at the time, the better choice. And I was in good company when that vote was taken.
Well, what's gone wrong
Senators,
since then?
Warner and Webb, I mean, it was a bipartisan vote. And I think we need to consider, too, what the alternative would have been had I voted no and that vote prevailed. That would have been it would have, I think, it had a tremendous harmful effect on our local economy and our defense establishment.
Well, I guess the idea was to set up such onerous outcomes that, of course, right-minded people will come together and do the right thing. But in the time since then, they haven't done it.
Well, I was hoping, Mike, it really points to a lot of the gridlock that's in Washington right now, which is a central part of my effort, is to find common ground. I was the founder of the Fix Congress Now caucus. 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats are leading that. I'm one of the Republicans, of course. And the first bill that we picked up and are moving ahead is the No Budget, No Pay Act. And this is actually a bill that's introduced by a Democrat. So I'm ready, and in fact, I'd suggest that we're really leading in our office and finding ways for both parties to really just do what's right for America and set what's best for America ahead of what's best for a party.
What's your level of hope at this point now? Because you all in Congress are going to be on recess until after the November elections, and then there's going to be a very small little window of a lame duck session, and then whoever gets elected president, nothing's really going to happen, right? So what's your level of hope that sequestration could be fixed?
Well, first of all, I've been very outspoken about this, that the House calendar doesn't reflect the challenges facing our country, nor does the Senate calendar. And you could even say the administration's priorities are off as well. And I voted not to go into basically adjournment this last time. I wanted to work all through August. Now, the likelihood of averting sequestration, there's potential for this to happen. And I'd put myself in the cautiously optimistic side. I'd like to think that both the President, leaders of the Senate and also the House would really come together and put our country first. And Mike, I really do feel good about the efforts and the legislation, the specific legislation that we passed in the House that would stop sequestration. And I don't see the same definitive plan coming from certainly not the Senate. And even what the President has is very vague.
Well, speaking of vagueness, I haven't yet seen a specific detailed portrait of what it would mean for Hampton Roads. I've seen the broad prognostication from the George Mason University study, which says in Virginia 207,000 jobs. The impact to the Commonwealth of Virginia, I think, was $26 billion or some crazy number. But what would it mean? What you can guess? Do you have a clue what it would mean for Hampton Roads?
Well, I've spent time with the Assistant Secretary of the Navy, Stackley, and others really working through this. Under any scenario, it's not good for America. It's not good for Hampton Roads, and that's why we're doing everything in our office to stop it. Because really those cuts wouldn't be allocated over a full 4 quarters. They'd be allocated over 3 quarters of the year and not just a full 4. So we're working on a bipartisan basis to do everything we can to stop it.
We talk about readiness and national defense, which of course are extremely vital and,
right.
and paramountly important. But I'm also thinking about the ship repair industry and the ship builders over at Newport News Shipbuilding who require some certainty in their advanced planning for,
right.
for their business model.
Well,
they're concerned.
Absolutely. And, when I meet those hardworking men and women that are coming in and out of the gates, some of the hardest working Americans that I know, and I have deep respect for the work that they do. They really do build the finest ships in the world in submarines. What we're doing in the legislation that I introduced and was passed in the National Defense Authorization Act, if they'd pick that up in the Senate and address it, we'd be a lot better off. And Mike, to your point, it's one of the reasons that I voted no on this last continuing resolution is because critical funding for a replenishment program for nuclear aircraft carrier was not present in the budget. And as I evaluated the consequences of voting no and yes, I knew it was best to do what is right for the district, and I believe for the nation too. Putting national security first was to vote no on the continuing resolution.
When you get out and about the 2nd District and you meet with small business folks and larger Chamber
Sure.
of Commerce sized business
Right.
folks, what are you hearing? What sort of fear
Mike,
do they have?
Well, Mike, the number one concern, whether someone's in the defense industry or not, is just the economy. And this is my number one priority is job creation. I really believe that leading America toward energy independence is a very practical way to increase employment and really keep our men and women out of harm's way around the world. They're in places they shouldn't be because we're not energy independent. We did pass a bill through our office that would open up coastal Virginia energy, which could create as many as 18,000 jobs. And these jobs can be created in an environmentally responsible way. And they generate the tax revenues that we need for better roads, better schools, to pay our first responders better. So I'm really excited about that. We got it through the House, and we're hoping they'll pick it up in the Senate.
Well, let's talk about something that's been in the news in recent days. You're familiar with presidential candidate Mitt Romney's comments that have gotten him in a little bit of hot water with some folks about the 47% of Americans who will never vote for him because they are dependent on government and they feel like government has a responsibility to take care of them. A number of conservatives, Bill Kristol, called that a stupid comment. When you heard that in the news, what was your
Well,
reaction
first
to
thought is that wasn't a good day for the Romney campaign, but nor was it a good day in the Obama campaign when he said you didn't build that. I think these things can be twisted. As I go throughout our community, I'm just so encouraged by the amount of support that we see. Folks who are receiving some public assistance. I mean, is there some fraud? Is there some folks who are taking advantage of it? Yes, it's a small percentage. Mainly people want to rise up. They want to work, and they want opportunities. And that's the principal reason I went to Washington, was to bring 30 years of practical experience of job creation. The first business my wife and I created together was a cleaning business, and she hired me and I hired her, and we did the cleaning. I was, I think, 22 years old. So I've been creating jobs, for 30 years or so. And we need more folks in Washington that have actually created jobs. I've found that to be true.
But to the point, though, of the 47%, I mean, we're talking about military retirees, we're talking about veterans, we're talking about people with handicapped children. I mean, I just feel like...
No, what he expressed is not my view, and I'll let Governor Romney, navigate through what he's got to navigate through.
Are you worried about being broad-brushed as a member of the party?
No, because I give credit to our community. They're looking at each individual candidate. They're evaluating me based off of, am I doing what I said I do when I sought this office? And Mike, I have a clear conscience, and I feel good about reconciling what we said to the district, including here a couple of years ago, right here talking to you, and matching that up with real results, legislation that's been passed, advocating for our enlisted sailors and Marines and Army soldiers because of the mold in their housing, being strong advocates for those that have contaminated drywall in their homes and unlocking regulations that are holding back job creation.